Hey, what is going on guys? Welcome back to another video, and in this video we are trying to solve a Leetcode problem, which is container with the most water, and this is a medium Leetcode problem. I'll leave a link to this problem in the video description. So let's just take a look at the problem statement once. Given n non-negative integers a1, a2 till an, where each represents a point at coordinate I, ai, n vertical lines are drawn such that the two endpoints of the line I is at I, ai and I, 0. Find two lines which together with x-axis forms a container such that the container contains the most water, and notice that you may not slant the container. So if you take a look at the height array and try to compare it with the chart, what you'll realize is the index plus 1 is equal to the x coordinate and the value at that index is equal to the y coordinate. So basically at 0th index we have 1, so the coordinate is 1 for y, and x is 1 as well. Similarly for 8, the y coordinate is 8 and the x coordinate for this particular line is 2. And this is how this height array is pictorially represented in this chart over here. Now if you want to solve this problem, pause the video. Now let's just move on with the solution. So before I jump into the code, I just want to briefly talk about a few observations that you might find useful. The first one is basically the height of water will always be equal to the lowest of the two numbers. So to explain that, we have like a sample example here. So if you take these two lines, the height of water will always be equal to this line. If you take these two lines, this one and this one, the height of the water will always be equal to this line. So that's observation number one. The second observation is as we move towards the center of the array, the narrower the tank gets. As we keep moving in this direction and from here into this direction, because we need two walls to complete a container kind of gets narrower and its area will also decrease. And the third observation and the most important one is how do you calculate the area of water. To calculate that, we use the basic math formula, that is area of a rectangle is length into breadth. If you want to calculate the area of water between this line and this line here, we just take a look at this height, which is say L, and the breadth, which is the distance between these two lines, which is P. So the distance between these two lines is basically the difference between the indexes of these two, and the height is basically the x coordinate of the lower of the two. So that's how we calculate the area of water. I think with that knowledge, what we can now do is we can tackle the problem. So I'll just do a brief dry run of the solution so that it becomes easy to understand. So we have an array here 1, 8, 6, 2, 5, 4, 8, 3, 7, and we have the indexes listed up here. We start at the two ends of the array. So we start at I over at 0 and j over here, and then we first have a max, which will basically save the max amount of water that can be stored between the two walls. So max will set to 0 first. So we'll start from I and j at the two extremes. So the difference between these two is 8, and then the lower of these two is 1, so it is 8. So the maximum amount of water, the maximum area of water that can be stored between these two is 8. Now it doesn't have any unit, it will be just 8, and we'll set this to max. So because max is less than 8, so this will be set, so this will be set to 8. Now we increment the lower of the two. So between 1 and 7, I is lower, so we'll increment I. So I will start pointing here towards 8, and then we continue this again. So the difference between them is again 7, and then we multiply with the lower, which is 7. So this is 49, and we'll update the max to 49. So now between these two, the lower is 7, so we'll decrement j, not increment. We'll decrement j, and j will be here. And now the difference between them is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6, and the lower of the two is 3. So we multiply, this is 18. Now 18 is less than 49, so we won't alter max. And we will basically continue this process till I is less than j. Because if I is equal to or greater than j, then the container basically doesn't exist. So here we start from left. So we have two pointers, left and right. So left is equal to 0, right is equal to height dot length minus 1. So we start from from the two extremes of the array, and we initialize max to 0. Then while left is less than right, we calculate. So this shouldn't be named volume, this should be area. That would be a more appropriate naming, but let's just ignore that for now. So volume is math.min. We take the min between I and j. So we take the min between the two numbers that we have, in this case 1. So we basically do that here, and we multiply it with the difference between the two indices. So right minus left, because right will always be greater than left. So right minus left, and we multiply and we get the volume. And then we check if max is greater than volume. If it is, then we return max, else we return volume. And then we basically check which one of the two is lesser. Either we increment the left pointer or we decrement the right pointer. And we just keep doing this until left is less than right, and we return max. That's pretty much the explanation for this code. If you like the video, be sure to hit the like button. If you want to see more of Leetcode problems, be sure to let me know in the comments below, and I'll make that happen. Thank you guys for joining, and I'll see you guys in the next one.